Win, lose, or draw, the chamber will vote this week on Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the majority leader said on the floor today.
We're going to vote. We're all going to go on the record. And Republicans will have to choose which side they stand on, protecting democracy or offering their implicit endorsement of Donald Trump's big lie.
The White House struck a similar tone this afternoon, suggesting that if the Voting Rights Acts fail, the public deserves to see which lawmakers hammered the nail into the coffin.
The president's view is that the American people deserve to see where their leaders stand on protecting their fundamental rights. That is a reason to move forward with this debate and this vote this week.
The Senate Majority Leader also insisted the chamber would press ahead with a vote to alter the filibuster rules if Republicans once again block the legislation. But as of right now, two key moderate Democrats have not budged on their opposition to changing the chamber's rules to pass the bills. The Senate Minority Leader happily seized on this opposition during his time on the floor today, chalking up the filibuster talk to hysteria from the Democrats.
Now, many of these same colleagues have spent weeks thundering, literally thundering, that the Senate's 60-vote threshold is an offensive tool of obstruction, a Jim Crow relic, declaring that simple majorities should always get their way. But late last week, they literally wielded the 60-vote threshold themselves, a useful reminder of just how fake the hysteria has been.
Seemingly out of options, Schumer announced that he would introduce a proposal to implement the talking filibuster as soon as tomorrow. Once members of the minority party have exhausted all of their speaking rights and defended their position on the Senate floor, the debate will have run its course and the Senate will move to vote on final passage of a majority threshold. He told reporters earlier tonight the president, for his part, urged the Senate today to pass voting rights legislation using some familiar language in what is now the 11th hour. Jim Crow 2.0 is about two insidious things: voter suppression and election subversion. It's about making it harder to vote, who gets to count the vote, and whether your vote counts at all. Joining me now to discuss is Cliff Allbright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, who was arrested earlier today at a protest for voting rights outside the U.S. Capitol. And I should say, there's breaking news tonight that the Senate has now gone into recess. They will reconvene tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So, Cliff, you were among 28 activists arrested today at a voting rights protest outside the Capitol. Do you feel that the Senate Democrats are taking this issue with the same level of urgency that you are?
Well, hey, good evening, Charles. Well, no, none of them have been arrested, so I don't think that I can say that they're taking it with the same level of urgency that I am. You know, because we were being processed for the arrest, for the action that we did today, I really want to shout out those 28 other activists for taking that stand. But I haven't had a chance yet to see all of the debate floor remarks that some of the Democrats have made. I saw a couple of Republicans saying pretty much what we'd expect them to say, the usual stuff, big lie type stuff. But I want to see what kind of remarks that the other Democrats were making. But I will say this, based on something I saw that Joe Manchin had said in his remarks, basically he's trying to change the subject. He's trying to say, you know, we need to be talking about COVID and inflation, which is different than what he's been saying. Anytime somebody starts trying to change the topic, what that means is that they know that their position is weak. That's what happens when you force somebody like Joe Manchin to actually have to debate, to have to actually answer questions and defend his position. And so I'm assuming, and I'm gonna go back and look some of the video, that some of what the Democrats are doing is working, and it's pushing him into a position where he doesn't even want to be on this topic. That is why we've been saying all along, let the process play out, have a debate, force the vote.
So what do you make of this idea of forcing a talking filibuster to eventually be able to pass the bill with a simple majority? There's a way to do it apparently, but it is not, you know, a clean way, and there are ways that Republicans could try to throw up roadblocks to it. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be my preferred option, right? Because we know that a talking filibuster has been used in the past, to actually block legislation. We also know that you got people like Ted Cruz who would love to, or Rand Paul, who would love to have the chance to just stand on the Senate floor and talk for 2 days straight. And so it wouldn't be the preferred option. We prefer that they just do a clean carve out, or that there's some other mechanisms for modifying the filibuster, changing the threshold, or just changing some of the process in other ways besides just saying that it has to be standing. So there are some other options out there that we prefer. But at this point, if that's the option that Senator Schumer is leaning towards, then, I'm not a fly on the wall in terms of their caucus meetings and the discussions that they had. But if that's the option that it takes in order to get this done, then that's better than what we have right now, which is simply 60 people who don't even have to show up. All they have to say is announce their intention to filibuster. So it's not the preferred option, but it's definitely better than where we're at now.
McConnell has characterized the Democrats' push to change the filibuster as hysteria. What do you make of the Republicans' opposition's response to the latest push by Democrats?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of what we know, right? It's more of the blatant lies. I was watching something that showed the video from McConnell just a few years ago, where he was saying we need to restore the Senate, we need to get rid of this filibuster. That's what he did in order to pave the way for the previous occupant in the White House to be able to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. So he's going around talking about the Senate possibly being broken by this action. He's the one who broke the Senate. And so, you can't take anything Mitch McConnell says seriously. This is somebody who's just ruthless about his use of power and is willing to tell just blatant lies. It's like he doesn't know that we have video of his previous discussions on this topic. So, you can't take anything he says at all seriously. The other thing that he did say that I thought was interesting was that he had a veiled threat where basically he was saying that even the attempt to have a vote on the filibuster would lead to consequences and repercussions. Basically, that's his way of saying if you even try to do this, then when I get in, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do some bad stuff. But guess what, Mitch? We already know that you're gonna come in and do some bad stuff if you get power. That's why it's so incredibly important that this voting rights legislation gets passed, so that we never need to see another Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
One can imagine that every Democrat, who wants to land in the history books will give some sort of speech in defense of voting rights tomorrow. But what do you think about this as a strategy of just going on the record and making sure that you have said out loud the dangers that we are in? Is that performative, or is that really important to do? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I actually just tweeted about this a little while ago. I think if there's a way, I don't know what the Senate rules. I know sometimes they say that you can't address your colleagues, right? You're supposed to just address, the body or whatever. But, I'd love to see them asking Joe Manchin specific questions. Like somebody asked him a question about how he felt about the disenfranchisement tonight. And he said something along the lines of, oh, it's not going to happen. The government is going to protect them. But it's the governments, however he's defining government, people were pointing out it's the governments in Florida, in Georgia, in Wisconsin, where they just got rid of drop boxes. Like that's who's doing this. And so for him to say something like that shows that he's not prepared to have a real discussion around it. So I would love to see one of his colleagues ask him some of these questions specifically. Joe Manchin, my dear friend from West Virginia, how exactly do you expect for people in Florida to be protected by the fact that they just proposed a map that literally cuts Black representation in half? What exactly is your view of how the government, quote unquote, is currently protecting? And so just a whole series of questions that can be used to expose them, and then they could yield their time and have him answer these questions, but he's not equipped to do that. And so I would love to see that kind of give and take versus, as you said, Charles, them just coming up and giving a speech, which may be really good speeches and have really good information, but if it's not squarely being used to force Manchin into a corner, then I don't know if that's going to be the most effective thing. But again, I'm hoping that they use all the rules that they have at their disposal to make this be a truly effective discussion taking place.
Many senators, Democratic senators, in press reports today were using somewhat defeated language, as if it was a bygone conclusion that this was not going to prevail. Do you believe that they are confident that this maneuver with a talking filibuster will actually work?
Yeah, I don't think many of them are that confident. In fact, I heard Cory Booker on some show tonight talking about, that I think he was using the language saying it's not going to work. And you've heard some other people talking about possibly presenting pieces of these bills, provision by provision, and forcing Manchin and Sinema to vote against making election day a national holiday. Like, how are you going to vote against that? And then, guaranteeing a certain number of early vote days. And so, again, that's not the way that we like to see it. But the fact that some of them, not all, but some of them are referring to some of this language, it's exactly the kind of reason why we felt as activists it was important for us to do the action that we did today, so that they could be very clear that those of us who are fighting for this, that we have not given up, that we are still saying faint not, right? And in due season we shall reap. We need them to believe that, though. And that's what happens, real quick, Charles, that's what happens when Sinema made that speech and when Manchin puts out his memos. The reason, and when the media covers it by saying some of these headlines, like in the New York Times, that said, oh, the voting rights bill is dead. When this happens, it's meant to discourage people from moving forward in the process. And usually that works. That's why I'm glad that Schumer said, no, we're going to go ahead. We're going to have this debate and have this vote. But they can't just go through the motions, right? They got to go through the motions with some confidence, with some faith. They got to, part of why we do what we do and we make the phone calls we do and we're willing to go to jail is to galvanize not just the activist community, but to give them some strength, right? And so that's what we need them to show. We need them to have the same kind of conviction that, like, Senator Warnock has shown all throughout this process. If we had 48 Warnocks in that Senate, then we might be able to get something done. Then we'd be cooking with grease. But right now, some of them are already walking around defeated, and that's not going to work against people like Manchin and Sinema.
Cliff Allbright, thank you as always, sir, for joining us tonight. Full disclosure, I am a columnist at the New York Times.